Good evening, Beach Church, beloved. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I hope you made it out to church, and I hope that it was a beautiful Monday. I love having the opportunity to give you something beautiful on a Monday because it's not everybody's favorite day, just as the Boomtown Rats, but that's besides the point. Let's take a look at Luke 16 through 18 because it beckons. Calls for a radical shift. Luke 16 through 18 calls for a radical shift in values towards eternity, urging us to prioritize God and others over wealth. Do we seek God? Oh, he is compelled to seek out God as we are to seek out wealth and pride and self-righteousness. It's a question. Certainly in the world, the answer is no. Let's reflect upon ourselves and see where we stand on that scale. You got God, let's say you got God and you got the world. Where do we stand in terms of our priorities and our urgencies to seek out those priorities? Someday we're going to die. Have we stored riches in heaven? Because where our hearts are, there will be our riches as well. All right, so Luke 16, confronting idolatry and indifference. Use resources wisely. This is what we learned from the parable of the dishonest manager. Pushes us to use money and skills for God's kingdom, not just temporary gain. So that's basically what I was saying. Reject indifference is another point. The rich man and Lazarus story warns against ignoring the marginalized in the world where suffering is visible. Elsewhere in the Bible, it says when you come across a stranger, you don't know that it's not an angel. You don't know that it's not a test of some kind. But certainly the rich man took an awful lot for granted, and Lazarus had nothing to take for granted. And there's a lot of suffering people out there. I had an interesting experience, and I'd like to share that I didn't have any, who carries cash these days? So I didn't have any cash in my car or in my pocket, very little. And I saw all the time people that I would have liked to have opened up my car window and given them a couple bucks. I'm not rich, but I could at least do that. I'm a cheerful giver. I would have wanted to, but I didn't have it. Finally, I went to the bank, and while I was there, one of the things I did was to get them to change a 20. So then all those people disappeared. There just wasn't anybody to give that spare change to. All those street corners where I could reliably find somebody, the Walmart and Republic over there by Whole Foods, the guy with the bubbles. At that time, when I had a little bit of money to give them, they weren't there. So was I being tested to see if I would actually do something? Maybe I was. So that's 16. 17, Luke 17, talks about grace and gratitude over pride. Mentioned pride earlier, but basically what it's about is forgive endlessly, forgive without limit. Jesus' command and correction to forgive repeatedly, not just 7 times, but 7 times 70, is a powerful antidote to modern culture's emphasis. And I'm not talking about anybody in particular here. This is just, we're just talking. Grudges, retribution, and cancellation. Well, cancellation, it's more on the other side, but we're not getting into politics. It calls for a radical extension of grace in our personal relationships. God has been so graceful to us, and we are so quick, at least I am, to temporarily lose my temper and then say, what did I just do? Why? That was so stupid. That is totally not what Jesus would have me do in that situation. But it happens. Happens less than it used to and less severe. But it happens. God has given us boundless mercy. He continues to give us boundless mercy day after day after day. Can we extend a little bit of that surplus to our brothers? That's what is being asked of us by Jesus in Luke 17. Also, serve humbly. Humility is so important. I mean, it sounds funny. We're not important, but humility is, and recognizing that we're not half as important as we think we are. That's very important. The unprofitable servant, the one with the talents, who didn't trust, so he just put his talent in the ground. Talent was a lot of money, by the way, back then. Emphasize humble obedience and reject entitlement. It wasn't his to hold on to. It was his to try to make something more of it. And then he would be rewarded. Just realize that if we have actual talents in the arts, in music, in whatever, if we have actual talents to contribute to the world, don't sit on them. I'm guilty of that too. I haven't done any painting in a while. Think about going back to it every once in a while, but anyway, maybe you have something similar. And practice gratitude. Oh my goodness. Gratitude turns nothing into something. It turns pain into deliverance. It turns anything bad that you care to mention into something much more of a blessing. So the story of the 10 lepers urges daily thankfulness to deepen our relationship with God. Praise the Lord. Luke 18, again, humility and vigilance. The government's watching us, but are we watching the government? We need to be sometimes, a lot of the times. Pray persistently. The persistent widow parable encourages steadfast prayer, trusting God's just response. Prayer is an interesting issue. Do we talk to God or do we talk with God? Are we involved or just going through the motions? There's so much to talk about on the subject of prayer for another day. As far as humility, the Pharisee and the tax collector warn against self-righteousness. Guess which one was the self-righteous one? Calling for a contrite heart. Jesus shocked a lot of people when he said that the Pharisees would have a much harder time getting into heaven than the tax collector. That was unheard of. A lot of things in Jesus' parables were unheard of. The father of the parable son. No. The father of the prodigal son. In that parable, an old man was not supposed to run back in those days. As a matter of fact, it was a mark of dignity that he would walk more slowly, and he ran running to the son. There's a few little things in some of these parables that can be very easily overlooked. All right, and lastly, put God first. The rich ruler encounter challenges consumerist values, showing that divine help enables true discipleship. Don't be prideful or complacent. Cherish and be thankful for your blessings. The love of money, yes, this is the verse that talks about not the money is the root of all evil, but the love of money. And it can directly prevent us from fully embracing a life of discipleship. Which way are you going? What are you adhering to? What are you pulling on? What are you reaching out for? His conclusion that what is impossible with humans is possible with God offers hope that even the most difficult sacrifices can be made with divine help. This is a combination of me providing a truncated version and here and there giving a little bit more detail, but I think you should read Luke 16 to 18, and then if anything that I'm saying seems out of context or anything, then it will be clearer. I'm always here just as a placeholder and as a herald to say, go read the Bible. But if you appreciate the commentary, then I feel blessed, and I hope that I have blessed you, and I will catch you out here next Monday, God willing. Much love to you.